Imagine signing a lease for a beautiful, quiet suburban house. You move your furniture inside and start settling into your new routine. It's late. You're unwinding on your couch by watching a true crime documentary on television. But as the camera on the screen pans across a horrific, blood-stained basement and an eerily familiar floor plan, a cold dread washes over you. You realize the murder dungeon being broadcast on television is the exact house you are sitting in right now. That nightmare was a reality for the tenant of Maury Travis, a prolific serial killer who hid his atrocities behind an unassuming residential front door. While law enforcement eventually removes the perpetrators, the physical spaces of their violence remain. These structures sit quietly embedded in normal neighborhoods, waiting for the next person to move in. Between the years 2000 and 2002, a terrifying pattern emerged on the streets of St. Louis, Missouri. People were vanishing without a single trace. The attacker targeted vulnerable women, primarily sex workers walking the city streets at night. The abductions were highly organized, leaving absolutely no physical or analog evidence behind for the detectives to follow. This data visualization charts the staggering scale of the police investigation. By examining the pattern of disappearances and recovered remains, investigators officially linked the killer to the brutal murders of 12 separate women. However, examining missing persons reports from the same time frame revealed an even darker reality. Authorities strongly suspected his actual body count was as high as 17 victims. The complete lack of crime scene evidence paralyzed local law enforcement. In the eyes of the public and the press, this unknown attacker elevated into a mythological, unstoppable phantom. Hiding in plain sight requires strict discipline. Over time, he grew bored with his own anonymity. He wanted an audience to witness his work. To prove his perceived superiority, he decided to actively engage with the local media. He packaged up a piece of physical evidence and mailed it directly to the local St. Louis newspaper. Inside the envelope was a printed-out digital street map from the website Expedia.com. Scrawled across a specific intersection was a heavy red X, marking the exact coordinates where police could find the remains of one of his victims. Travis assumed that printing the map and dropping it in a mailbox broke the digital chain. He misunderstood the technology he was using. A killer's need to prove their intellectual dominance often creates the mechanism that guarantees their capture. His ego forced him to leave a trail. Every interaction on the web leaves a digital footprint, a trail of data logging who you are and what you search for. The early internet website Expedia logged the back-end data for every single map generated by its users. Investigators immediately subpoenaed Expedia servers. They asked the company to isolate the exact internet protocol, or IP address, that had generated a map of that specific St. Louis intersection. An IP address is a unique string of numbers identifying a computer network, acting like a digital return address. The servers provided that exact return address. The geographic trail pulled investigators away from the desolate dump site and routed them directly to a specific, quiet suburban property. Police converged on the brick house, executing a massive raid. Inside, they found the evidence they needed to finally arrest the Phantom of St. Louis. However, before he could stand in a courtroom to face a judge or a jury, Maury Travis took his own life by hanging himself in his jail cell. By weaponizing his own death, he committed one final act of cowardice. He deliberately denied the families of the victims the closure and justice of a public trial. A decade later, in 2014, the case had largely faded from local headlines. Travis was dead, and eventually, his physical property quietly re-entered the civilian rental market. A St. Louis woman named Katrina McGaugh found the listing, signed a lease, and moved all of her belongings into the very rooms where the atrocities took place, completely unaware of the home's history. She lived there peacefully until the day she turned on her television. Seeing her own wallpaper, her own floor plan, and her own living room broadcast nationally on a true crime network triggered a profound psychological shock. The house served as the primary instrument and the silent witness to a historic string of murders. A digital footprint gave police the exact tool they needed to catch a killer. But the physical footprints, the brick-and-mortar homes where monsters operated, sit quietly in our neighborhoods, inherited by unsuspecting people every single day.